This is Professor Michael Chapman. I'm one of the most experienced IVF doctors in Australia. I believe that an important part that I can contribute is to educate patients in relation to fertility, infertility, and all that involves. These series of podcasts help to educate you. I hope they are helpful to you. If you wish to know more, however, I'm more than happy to have you contact me via email, which is profmchapman@gmail.com, or make an appointment to see me on 9138 4222.
Prof, we have Kimberly just says she's trying to feed a baby bird in between, but she screenshotted the details and she'll send a message. So I guess she'll be in touch. Alana asked one further question. If larger BMI patient, what are your thoughts on GLP-1 in between cycles?
Yeah, no harm. I'm not sure how long you have to be on them to actually have an impact, and therefore how much you're going to space out your IVF cycles. I mean, the general view, I think, is that you probably shouldn't be using it during a cycle. But although the real evidence for that is not available, even though that they've been around for a long time, it's still, and obviously many patients have got pregnant while they were on it, so there have been no adverse effects described, but we tend to discourage patients using it. But and that also, I suppose it comes back to how old you are, because putting it off for 6 months because you're trying to lose 20 kilos, if you're 39, that has actually an impact on your chances at 6 months later. If you're 30, it probably doesn't. 6 months is not going to change the likelihood of a pregnancy. So your age and when you're using it is something that needs to be taken into account.
Of what IVF advances have made the biggest real-world difference but received little attention?
Any advance seems to create a major news item. So I don't think anyone. Well, I suppose in the background, what's going on in the lab, which is probably the thing that's made the most difference in pregnancy rates. Probably not simple things, but the improvement in the culture medium, the improvement in the incubators, the improvement in the training of our staff, that backroom stuff probably has made the difference between a 25% pregnancy rate a decade ago to a 40% pregnancy rate today. Nothing the doctors have done have changed it. Nothing the medications that have been even newer, they're newer medications, but they're basically the same thing. FSH is FSH. There are now in Australia 6 different varieties. They all do exactly the same thing, despite what the individual pharma companies say. They stimulate eggs. So I suppose those are the things. And so I think the improvements in the last decade have been in backroom. Other big steps, I suppose big steps, if you look back, have been the introduction of the sperm injection technique for men with low sperm. That was a game changer for probably 20% or 30% of infertility that was caused by males. That was 1992, so we're a long way on from that, and it's still the standard for sperm. The way we freeze embryos is probably the other big one. So we used to use something called a slow technique, where we gradually reduce the temperature of the embryo over about an hour and a half. Now the technique is almost dropping the embryo into liquid nitrogen, and it happens immediately. It's not quite as simple as that, but it's almost so. And so a decade ago, if we're doing slow freezing, I would have been saying the odds of that frozen embryo producing a baby were half that of a fresh cycle. Today, they're identical. So freezing embryos with vitrification carries the same chance of success. And obviously when women are producing 2, 3, 4 embryos, that becomes a vital statistic in their cumulative chance of having a baby. They're probably the 2 big things from big hurdles, and other than those little things in the laboratory.
Prof, Kimberly asked what is GLP-1, and Alana was kind enough to explain. it's the weight loss injections, Mounjaro, Ozempic.
Yeah.
So it's lovely that people on the call.
Helping each other. Yeah.
Did you have anything you wanted to add to
want to
that?
get all the publicity, and my experiences in the vast majority of patients, they do actually work. Whether it stays off is another problem, but certainly as well, losing weight, and that can be very important in making the few percentage points difference in your pregnancy rates. The data on obese women with BMIs over 35 is probably a 30% reduction in chances of a baby. So if it was 40%, then it's going to be 30%. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have a cycle, because losing weight, even with these drugs, it doesn't always happen. But it does make a difference.
And don't forget that you can access all the previous episodes by going to our website www.theivfjourney.com and select IVF Journey podcast from the navigation menu.